Did you know there's a guy who survived not one but two atomic bombs? Or how about the set of twins separated at birth who lived nearly identical lives without ever meeting? Well, if you didn't, you're in for a real treat, because today we're going to share 10 of the most astoundingly strange coincidences that will blow your mind. Let's begin with the weird coincidence regarding the infamous Titanic and an imaginary ship named Titan. In 1898, author Robert Morgan wrote a short story called The Wreck of the Titan, which was about a huge luxury ship that was hit by an iceberg and sank. Get this, it was called Unsinkable. Fast forward 14 years, and along comes the Titanic. It was also called Unsinkable. It also hit an iceberg on its side, and it also sank in April. But the coincidence gets weirder. They both went down 400 miles off Newfoundland, with not enough lifeboats for everyone. Crazy, right? It's like Morgan had a crystal ball or something. This story of Tsutomu Yamaguchi from Japan is straight up unbelievable. The guy was in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki when the atomic bombs dropped. I mean, what are the chances? He had to witness not one, but two mushroom clouds rising in the sky. Crazy enough, he made it out of Hiroshima alive, then thought Nagasaki would be safer, only for the second bomb to explode there too. Although he wasn't killed, the second one covered over half of his body in burns from radioactive ash. Sadly though, he passed away from cancer later on. But can you imagine this poor guy basically cheated death twice when entire cities were wiped out around him? Okay, this Edgar Allan Poe coincidence had me doing a double take. In 1838, the famous author wrote The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, in which a few sailors survive a shipwreck by eating a cabin boy named Richard Parker. While Poe claimed that the story was based on real events, that was found to be not true. But get this, in 1884, 46 years later, a real boat actually sank, and the survivors had to eat, you guessed it, their cabin boy, Richard Parker, to stay alive. So, did Edgar Allan Poe own a time machine? Well, you may decide for yourself. You're probably familiar with the cartoon character Dennis the Menace, a lovable, if mischievous, little boy who burst onto the scene in March of 1951 with his dog, Ruff. But did you know that in the same month of that very same year, just across the Atlantic in the UK, they also created a Dennis the Menace comic of their own? This British Dennis was a bit more sinister than his American counterpart, intentionally rather than inadvertently causing chaos. Amazingly, there are no signs of plagiarism in this case. The characters were made independently but simultaneously, ultimately taking up a similar place in their respective countries' cultural landscape. Did those two creators somehow dream up the same idea without talking? Who knows? Let me now tell you the story of a doubly fortunate cyclist. In 2014, there were these two Malaysian air flights that both crashed weeks apart from each other. One went down in Ukraine, and the other completely vanished in the Indian Ocean without a trace, which stirred one of the greatest mysteries of all time. But on top of it, there was this striking coincidence. A Dutch cyclist named Martin de Jonge was booked initially on both of those flights. Say how lucky he was. The dude basically won the lottery by missing those planes, and that was simply because he changed his tickets at the last minute when he found a cheaper option on both occasions. The great American author Mark Twain had a sharp wit and a knack for satire. But did he know about his clairvoyance? Well, he was born in 1835, a year when Halley's Comet, which only passes the Earth every 76 odd years, was visible. But get this, he died in 1910 when it came back around. I'm not finished. He actually passed away the day after the comet was gleaming the brightest in the sky. But wait, it gets weirder. In 1909, Twain basically predicted this would happen. According to the New York Times, he said in 1909, "The Almighty has said, no doubt, now here are these two unaccountable freaks. They came in together. They must go out together," referring to himself and the comet. And he was right. They both came and went at the same time, 76 years apart. Talk about having some next-level psychic powers. Our next coincidence is just weirdly uncanny. So, the founder of Ferrari, Enzo Ferrari, passed away in 1988. And a month later, in that same exact year, German soccer superstar Mesut Ozil was born. Now, that would seem like some random fact, but that's not the coincidence I'm talking about. When you look at pics of the two dudes side by side, you could practically make them out as twins. Like, it's actually freaky how similar they look. Some people have even said it's like Ozil was Ferrari reincarnated or something. I don't know about all that, but come on. What are the chances two totally unrelated guys born decades apart could resemble each other that much? Seriously, it makes me wonder if reincarnation is actually real, because the genetics are uncanny. Next, we have this strange case of veteran actor Anthony Hopkins and a book found on the subway. So, Anthony Hopkins was getting ready to film some movie called The Girl from Petrovka, and he really wanted to read the book it was based on. But he searched everywhere and couldn't find a single copy. That was until one day on the subway of all places, he spotted one just sitting there. Unreal luck. But it gets better. When Hopkins eventually met the author, the guy said he didn't even have a copy either because he lent his last one to a friend, who lost it on the same subway. Someone was looking out for him that day, for sure. Theoretical physicist, cosmologist, and author Stephen Hawking was famously born on the 300th anniversary of Galileo's death and died on what would have been Einstein's 139th birthday. That said, the far more confounding question of statistical improbability surrounding Hawking's life was the fact that he survived to be 76 despite living with Lou Gehrig's disease. Though we know very little about the disease, according to Scientific American, most of those diagnosed live for about 5 years past diagnosis. Yet Hawking survived for more than 5 additional decades, allowing him to share his crucial insights and gifts with the world, not to mention his legendary humor. Alright, you guys, this final coincidence story is sure to blow your mind. So, in 1940, these twin boys got separated at birth and were adopted by different families. I know, it's a sad start already. But it gets weirder. Both families named their son James, and they both went by Jim. Then, they each grew up with a dog named Toy. Crazy, right? But the similarities don't stop there. When they got older, one became a security guard, and the other became a sheriff, so both worked in security. And unbelievably, they both married women named Linda. Even more incredibly, when the Jims got divorced later on and remarried, both the second wives shared the same name, Betty. On top of all that, their sons' names were both James, too, with really similar middle names, Alan and Alan. The twins didn't even meet until they were 39. Finally, in 1979, one found the other as they both were vacationing in the same place and realized just how identical their whole lives had been. You can imagine everyone freaked out hearing about it. I still can't get over how many insane coincidences there were between these two long-lost brothers. So let us know in the comments which of these strange coincidences surprised you the most. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Also, press the bell icon for instant notifications so that you never miss a video from Factastic Trivia.